Yeah.
Like, you go into New York City or any mall,
Okay, hello everybody. It is 6:31 p.m., March 16, 2005, and we are here for, oh, I should know that. March 16, 2026. We're here for a public hearing for MetalWyze, so we are going to get started. So I have a script that's like a 15-minute script. You might want to sit. It's going to be a while, or you can set up either way. But I'll get started on this so that way we can get going. So good evening. My name is Sharice Vickers. I am the Executive Director to the City of Newburgh Industrial Development Agency in connection with the project, which is the subject of this public hearing. Today I'm holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with a project, the proposed project for the benefit of MetalWyze, Inc., a New York corporation, the company. The proposed project consists of the following. A, the acquisition of an interest in parcels of real property consisting of approximately 63,000 square foot building on an approximately 5.2 acre parcel of real property located at 106 Pierces Road, Newburgh, New York, the land. 2, the rehabilitation and conversion of an existing vacant building on the land to a manufacturing facility for metal coil and metal processing, the facility. And 4, the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other tangible personal property, collectively the equipment, the land, the facility, and the equipment hereinafter collectively referred to as the project facility. B, the granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 85414 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from real property taxes, the financial assistance, and C, the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. I intend to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then open the comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. Legal authorization and powers of the agency. City of Newburgh Industrial Development Agency, the agency, is authorized and empowered by the provisions of Chapter 1030 of the 1969 Laws of New York, constituting Title I of Article 18A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York, as amended, the Enabling Act, and Chapter 577 of the 1982 Laws of New York, as amended, constituting Section 913 of said General Municipal Law, said chapter and the Enabling Act being hereinafter collectively referred to as the Act. Purpose of this public hearing. Pursuant to Section 859A2 of the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to the proposed project, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the proposed facility and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. The company has requested the following financial assistance: a 10-year payment in lieu of tax agreement pilot at an estimated value of $349,490. It is noted that the pilot is not consistent with the adopted uniform tax-exempt policy of the agency. The agency has previously engaged a third-party municipal services firm, MRB, which assessed the proposed project and developed a written cost-benefit analysis which identified the following economic impact and benefits to the City of Newburgh from the proposed project. A, the construction phase of the project will create 2 direct, indirect jobs that will generate approximately $151,267 in wages. B, the project will result in 10 direct and 2 indirect permanent jobs, approximately $1,057,564 in wages on an annual basis. And C, Orange County will benefit from additional one-time sales tax revenue of $996 associated with construction wages earned during the construction phase and annual sales tax revenue of $6,940. related to all sales tax earned during the operational period, both from the new jobs and the new household spending. In addition, part of the financial assistance requested by the company includes a request to the agency, the pilot request, to enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement, the proposed pilot agreement, the terms of which will deviate from the existing agency uniform tax exempt policy, the policy, pursuant to Section 874-4 of the Act in accordance with the policy. Prior to taking final action on the pilot request for a deviation from the policy, the agency must adopt a resolution setting forth with respect to the proposed deviation, A, the amount of the proposed tax exemption, B, the amount and nature of the proposed pilot, and C, indicating the reason for the proposed deviation. At its regular meeting held on December 15, 2025, the agency approved a letter setting forth in writing the reasons for deviation from such policy and notifying by certified mail, return receipt, requested or an electronic correspondence with a read receipt the affected local taxing jurisdictions of proposed deviation from the policy and the reasons therefor. This hearing is also available to hear public comments from those affected local taxing jurisdictions regarding the proposed deviation from the policy. The executive director of the agency caused notice of this hearing to be A, mailed on March 5th, 2026 to the chief executive officers of Orange County, the city of Newburgh, and the Newburgh Enlarged School District, and B, posted on March 2nd, 2026 on a public bulletin board located at City Hall, 83 Broadway, Newburgh, New York, and C, published on March 6th, 2026 in the Times Herald Record newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the city of Newburgh, Orange County, New York. In addition, the executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be posted on March 2nd, 2026 to the agency's website and March 9th, 2026 on Facebook and Instagram. Additionally, the executive director of the agency caused a letter notifying about the proposed deviation from the uniform tax exempt policy of the agency to be mailed by certified mail, return receipt requested, or an electronic correspondence with a read receipt on March 5th, 2026 to the chief executive officers of Orange County, the city of Newburgh, and the Newburgh Enlarged School District. Now, unless there is any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of this public hearing and instead request that the full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record of this public hearing as Schedule A. The comments received today at the public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to the meeting at which members of the agency will consider whether to approve the undertaking of the proposed project by the agency and the granting by the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000 with respect to the proposed project. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Sharice Vickers, Executive Director of the agency. I have received one written comment, but you're here, so you'll be able to read it when we get to that part. So we'll now take remarks by the company. We have MetalWyze here, so if you just give us your presentation on your proposed project.
This is me? All right. So I thought it best to start off with our recruiting video, which will give you a good oversight on what exactly it is we're looking to implement here. So without further ado.
MetalWyze is redefining architectural metal manufacturing, built on advanced automation, precision manufacturing, and just-in-time production. We're launching a modern, highly automated facility in Newburgh, New York, designed to move faster, work smarter, and raise the standard for quality. Privately owned and built with a long-term vision, MetalWyze is focused.
So I think it's just important to add, we'll go back to the video, that, the property tax exemptions we're seeking, you'll see a lot of the, state-of-the-art machinery that we're purchasing.
So it's important to add that.
Yeah, as you're watching the video, you're going to see a lot of state-of-the-art machinery that we're purchasing. The primary machines and equipment will cost, about around $6 million. It's special manufacturing. Very few companies produce these types of machines. And just keep that in the back of your mind as you, see the machines in operation.
MetalWyze is focused on sustainable growth. This is a ground floor opportunity to work with cutting-edge manufacturing systems, help shape operations from day one, and grow with a company that's just getting started. If you're driven and ready to
All right, I felt like that was better than me trying to explain the ethos behind MetalWyze and stumble over my words for 5 minutes. So, to Michael's point, what you saw in there is a lot of the advanced automation equipment that we're looking to implement in this facility, right? And you know, as we talk about automated machinery, I think it's important to call out that automation does not mean a replacement for human capital or human resources within the company, right? Automation allows us to upscale our labor to work in a smarter, less mechanically driven fashion, right? So it's not as taxing on the body. It's a career-oriented profession now around computer-aided design, computer-aided programming, and metal manufacturing. So the first piece of equipment you saw there, I hope this plays without, we're gonna mute this, okay, was our coil processing farm. And this piece of equipment here, as it is assembled, is a little bit over $1.2 million. And what this does is replaces a multi-site manufacturing process. So often, most metal manufacturers use third-party processing centers to take their master coils, the large coils you see here, and process them into the material sizes that they need to then turn around and manufacture components for sale. We are planning on implementing this because of its smaller footprint. It's specially designed and engineered in Sweden to fit in smaller factories in Europe, and it allows us to put this inside the factory that is actually going to be manufacturing the components as well, right? So 2 operators can run this entire coil farm in a place of, you know, the traditional method, which take a much longer and slower approach to coil processing. The second step of the manufacturing process is what we call our Tallman double folders, right? And so in traditional sheet metal manufacturing, you have an operator standing in front of a brake, holding a heavy piece of flimsy sheet metal and manipulating that and flipping it back and forth to fold it into a profile that is then put on roof edging or residential projects, right? The Thalman double folders do this intuitively and automatically. So the operator wheels a cart over with all the blanks that came out of the coil farm, and then he spends his time programming the parts that are going to be manufactured, and the machine does the actual manufacturing for them, right? So there's no taxing and labor portion on the body. You're watching here a couple of profiles be manufactured together, and then they'll be offloaded automatically, at which point then our labor force comes back in to take it off the conveyor belt, put it on a skid, and get it ready for packaging to ship out. The final piece of highly automated equipment is referred to as a rotary punch machine, and this piece of equipment replaces the manual layout of specialized component parts of the manufacturing process. So as opposed to standardized pieces that you saw being manufactured on the Thalman, you're seeing all of the accessory components being manufactured here. So what you can do is take a sheet that got processed out of that coil farm, you bring the entire skid over and load it in front of the machine, and then again, the operator's time is spent programming the components and not actually cutting and manually shearing the sheet metal. And this machine here uses a rapid fire punching motion to then template out what is going to be blanked. The operator takes it from a chute after it's been cut and then just assembles them together. The last part of our human capital here that we have for MetalWyze is our operations staff and our fleet, right? So we are going to have a dedicated fleet when we start of 2 trucks with 2 CDL drivers and an operations team to help dispatch them across the Northeast, with an intended service of anywhere from Boston down to Baltimore, Maryland. That was brief, I understand, but I kind of wanted to make sure I hit the high points and didn't get too lost into the minutia.
Yeah, and I'll just add to it that you know, what Colin went over, that's the let's call it the actual warehouse footprint itself. But the operation is going to have its own purchasing department, accounts payable, accounts receivable, a controller, hopefully sales team, IT team. So there's the whole back end administrative and corporate roles as well that will be filled.
Thank you. So now we'll invite Michael from MRB to comment on the cost-benefit analysis, and we're talking about the test of reasonableness too. That was done.
All right, hopefully our technology works flawlessly. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we were hired to perform the cost-benefit analysis and the test of reasonableness. I will just say MRB Group is primarily involved in the provision of consulting services to municipalities, right? Engineering, architecture, and things that I do, economic and fiscal impact analysis, cost-benefit analysis, financial analysis, and so on. In terms of my bona fides, I've done, well, this is probably outdated, probably 400 of these studies at this point for all different clients, Fortune 500 companies, the state, many of the counties. We actually work for most of the IDAs in the state, and we've done basically every type of study that you can do related to IDA deals. So we did two analyses, test of reasonableness and cost-benefit analysis. I'll explain each. Test of reasonableness is, are the incentives that are being asked for necessary, and are they overly generous, essentially, is the question. What we do to do the test, we look at the assumptions. Are they reasonable? Are they realistic? Are they in the marketplace, the normal assumptions we would use? And then ultimately, the pre-tax cash flow internal rate of return, it's a lot of words, is it within the normal range? So what did we look at? We looked at the sources of capital, including the terms and conditions of that, what the construction budget was, and I say construction, actually the budget is mostly related to equipment purchases, but we looked at the real estate side of it, right? We're looking at this as a real estate deal. And then what the operating revenues and expenses would be. Now the interesting thing about this, when we did this test of reasonableness, we found, of course, that this isn't an arm's length transaction, right? We have a related entity that's leasing the building out, right, to MetalWyze. And the financing is being provided by another related entity. And so we had to kind of make a few adjustments to the pro forma data to make sure that we were looking at this as if it's an arm's length transaction, right? Because otherwise it doesn't really have any meaning. So we want to make sure that the terms being used are the terms that would be found in the marketplace. So we looked at interest rates, and in particular the permanent interest rate, the amortization period of the debt, capitalization rate that we used in order to model an exit after 10 years, and then we calculated the equity dividend rate off of that. We then compared that equity dividend rate, which is essentially like the developer's implied return on investment. We compared that to the marketplace. And in the marketplace, a typical return for an investor, it's a wide range, but this is what the range is for manufacturing projects. 6.8% to about 14.5%, with an average of about 10%. So we modeled this with an equity exit in year 10, which is based on the capitalization rate and the terminal year net operating income. Happy to explain these terms if people would like, but they're pretty standard terms. Our finding is that the requested assistance, specifically the pilot abatement schedule, provides the developer a reasonable risk-adjusted return. The second analysis is required by statute, the cost-benefit analysis, and that's looking at, for the local municipality, what are they getting, what are they giving up? So very high level, during the construction period, and again, most of the investment being made by the applicant is in personal property, not real property, about 2 construction jobs and $151,000 of construction wages. The applicant has stated in their application about 10 jobs being created. We model those 10 jobs, and we look at what does that happen as, you know, you get money into an economy, you get indirect jobs. Some of these 10 employees are going to spend their wages locally. The business may purchase things locally as well. That creates another 2 jobs. So the applicant creates 10 jobs. There's indirectly created 2 jobs for a total of 12. Our modeling software says that's about $1 million a year in wages. So over 10 years, escalated at 2%. We're at $11.5 million worth of wages. We looked at the pilot schedule, and we'll note here that in this case, there are existing taxes on the property, which means to say the existing assessed value. The proposed pilot would actually abate the existing property taxes because, as we found out, the improvements being done on the property are not significant enough to actually warrant an adjustment in the assessed value, right? So this abatement is actually applying to the existing assessed value, not a future assessed value. So there is no increase in revenue, right? We're not getting a change in assessment, and so essentially there isn't any new revenue coming in related to the property tax. The cost of the abatement is the difference between the pilot revenue as proposed by the applicant and what would otherwise be paid on the property if the deal moved forward and no pilot were in place, and that's a total of about $350,000. So that's the difference between what they're going to pay and what they would pay without an abatement. I think I already covered this. There's also just a very minor amount of sales tax that's being generated for the county, $1,000 during the construction period, and $76,000 for the operation period of 10 years. And that's basically the employees getting their wages and spending some of that wage locally, generating sales tax. So the final wrap table is the cost-benefit analysis. Here you can see we have a tax benefit to cost ratio of 0.22%, which means for each dollar of tax abatement given, there's a return of 22 cents to the municipalities, and then a overall cost-benefit ratio, including earnings to private individuals, in this case employees, of 33.79. That's for every $1 of assistance, you get $33, $34 of income. And that is our cost-benefit analysis.
Thank you. So now, we will now open it up for public comment at 6:54 p.m. We only have 2 people here, and I know, Lucas, you have a public comment, so we'll let you go first.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lucas Irache. I am a representative of the Orange County Partnership. I'm here to read a letter from the Orange County Partnership that was drafted by our president and CEO, Connor Eckert. Dear Executive Director Vickers and members of the Newburgh IDA, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to express my strong support for MetalWyze's proposed project at 106 Pierces Road in the city of Newburgh and for the consideration of tax exemptions through a payment in lieu of taxes agreement. This request represents an important opportunity to revitalize an underutilized industrial property while creating high-quality manufacturing jobs within the city of Newburgh. MetalWyze's investment will transform a facility that has historically been used for distribution and logistics into a modern manufacturing operation that will bring skilled, well-paying employment opportunities to the community. My support is grounded in the meaningful economic and community benefits this project will deliver. MetalWyze anticipates the creation of 10 high-quality manufacturing positions ranging from back office staff and operators to management roles. These positions offer competitive salaries with compensation beginning at approximately $50,000 annually and reaching up to $150,000 annually. In addition to strong wages, employees will receive benefits including health insurance, retirement savings through a 401k, and paid time off. Beyond job creation, this project also presents opportunities for workforce development collaboration with local educational institutions such as SUNY Orange's Newburgh campus and the Newburgh Free Academy Career and Technical Education Center. Partnerships like these can help create a pipeline of skilled workers while strengthening connections between industry and education in the region. Finally, MetalWyze will be a valuable addition to the regional construction and manufacturing supply chain. By establishing operations in the city of Newburgh, the company will be well positioned to support ongoing development projects throughout the city and Orange County, helping to reduce project timelines and associated costs. For these reasons, I strongly support the approval of this project and the consideration of the requested incentives. MetalWyze's investment represents a positive step toward strengthening the city of Newburgh's industrial base, creating quality employment opportunities, and supporting the region's continued economic growth. Thank you for your time and considerations. Sincerely, Connor Eckert.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to make public comment? Okay. Well, after requesting if there were any further comments, I close this public hearing at 6:57 p.m., but it shall remain open for written correspondence for a period of 20 days after this date. Thank you for attending.